my name is Katy and I own Explore Healing Food and Movement, and I'm honored to be here at Juniper's Apartments, where we're so fortunate to be filming our recipes today for Mack's Food Studios, part of Mackenthun's Fine Foods and Cove's Wines and Spirits. So let's get started, come on. Right, so let's get started. We're gonna be making the Mack's chili first with Mackenthun's specialty pork sausage. I think this is the Italian variety. They have a few others that are fantastic though that you could also use. This just definitely goes best with the chili. We're gonna be focusing on knife cuts with this dish because there's so many yummy vegetables that we can use, especially this time of year. And then the oregano, since it's a leafy herb, we're actually gonna be adding that in with the last ingredient we're putting into the stew, which is gonna be the meat. So it goes in that pile. Ready to cook? Let's cook. We're gonna start with all of the spices that we have right here. There's a good mix of spices. We have cinnamon and paprika, thyme, cumin seeds, and coriander seeds. Don't use the powders, you'll regret it. And then we have salt and black pepper. But before we do that, we're gonna take a high heat oil. This is my favorite to use, Spectrum sunflower oil. And you're just gonna put about 2 to 3 seconds worth of oil in your pan to start off with. You're gonna turn on the heat, and you want it to be at about medium-high heat because we want these spices ideally to pop. So let's talk about what oil shimmering means. So right now, the oil in the pan is super cold. There's a ton of gaps. It's moving relatively slowly. So when it's shimmering, it'll actually move like water from one end of the pan to the other, coating the entire thing, and it'll be hot enough to support the essential oils and flavonoids that are popping out of the herbs and spices. All right, so we're at the shimmering state. It's flowing like water from one end of the pan to the other, which means we're good to put in our spices. We put them all in the center of the pan. And then from here, we're just gonna bring the oil actually to the spices. This is an old method that I actually learned from, I think it's from southern India. You bring the oil or the ghee that you would cook with to the spices in order to, kind of in a controlled way, get the spices to release their flavor. And look at how quickly all the spices absorbed it. I'm getting a lot of scents. And that's all there is to it. This is probably the most important step to a flavorful dish, period. And we're gonna add in our alliums first. We're gonna add in the garlic, and then we're actually gonna wait for the garlic to smell like cooked garlic before we add in the onions. I'll turn this down slightly. Okay, I can already smell the garlic. Typically this part goes fairly fast. And now we're gonna add in the onions, and we're gonna cook the onions in the spiced oil until they turn translucent. So translucent is essentially just see-through. And then a step before that would be getting it to an opaque stage. So that just means that they're very white, almost pinkish in color. And as the onions start to release their liquid, it'll actually allow you to scrape off any spices that might have already stuck to the bottom of the pan. Because we're cooking at high heat, this is fairly common. So if that happens, just know, if you add in the onions, even if you have to add them in with the garlic to avoid them really charring onto the bottom of the pan, that's okay, that will help. All right, so they're to the opaque stage that we were talking about before, which is a step right before translucent. We've got maybe about 30 more seconds before we get them to translucent, and we can add in the rest of the yummy vegetables. And they are translucent. Let's add in the rest of the vegetables, hey? So many good veggies. Good meat, we've got beans. Ugh, what's better than chili in the fall, hey? All right, so now we just want to coat the vegetables in the spices and the alliums. The alliums, so the garlic and the onion, that's what really gives it a savory flavor. So we want to make sure those are well immersed in the stew. All right, the temperature is back up, so we're going to keep adding some ingredients. These will go in first. This was just 1 can of black beans. It comes out to be roughly like 1.5 cups if you're going to use beans from dried. After mixing that in, beans are notorious for sucking up flavor and then not having it hit your taste buds. So we are going to add a little bit more salt. And this time I'm just doing this because my hand's slightly damp. That was roughly 1/2 teaspoon. It always looks more when you free pour, but it never ends up being that much. You just kind of add bit by bit as you can smell the ingredients. So I'm able to smell all of the ingredients again after adding the beans in, so I know our flavor is going to be on point. Lastly, we add Mackenthun's Italian sausage. Oh, all right. Okay, from here, just like you were browning hamburger in a pot for lasagna, if you were like my family and did that, you're just gonna start to kind of stab the meat. And then you're gonna use this back and forth motion to start to integrate the meat in with the vegetables. This is going to be a thick pot of chili. So that means we're good to add the stock in. That means the meat started to absorb some of the heat from the pot, so it started the cooking process. And now by adding the liquid in, we're gonna be simmering all the ingredients together to add even more flavor to that meat. And we're just gonna add enough stock so that it covers kind of the top layer of the ingredients. We don't just wanna dump in all of it. So say you were to get 2 smaller peppers or 2 smaller onions, that's gonna drastically impact the volume in your pot. So just add stock as needed. Don't just like dump a bunch of stock in there. You have soup then. We don't want soup, we want chili. Now the goal is to just get it up to a simmer, and we'll put a lid on it, and when it's done, we'll see the final product. All right, so we're about to try our chili, but before we try the chili, I want to talk about the beverage I'm pairing with it today. We're gonna do a Wooden Hill Lager. It's from a brewery just down the street in Edina, and I got it from the Cove Wine and Spirits. It's right next to Mackenthun's, and I'm so excited. For those of you that haven't poured a beer before, my favorite way to pour, especially a lager, typically because they have a little bit more head than an IPA, you tilt the glass first, and then just start to pour in relatively slowly. Whoops! Without spilling, if you can. Then starting to tilt it up as you finish up the pour. Ta-da! All right, let's try this chili. Yep. Oh my gosh. It hits the spot. I needed this so bad right now. Okay, now you need to go make your own. Cheers. Perfect pairing. Yep.